parliamentary? And if not, can he withdraw and restrict to parliamentary language, Mr. Speaker?
Senator Sifuna, I think the use, you can still express yourself without necessarily using such words that may not be parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker.
And I know exactly, you understand exactly what I'm saying.
Mr. Speaker, replace every time I've used the word open lies with untruths or misleading or what other synonym is there? Yeah, I think I do not need
not factual.
Or non-factual, yes, Mr. Speaker, and I will demonstrate point by point what I thought was not factual or was misleading. Mr. Speaker, my expectation with these speeches, ever since I became acquainted with the Constitution, is that you must address yourself to the steps taken, very specific, steps taken and progress achieved in realizing the values under Article 10. And I was specifically looking out for the address to address 3 values set out under Article 10. The first one, Mr. Speaker, is national unity and inclusiveness, which I will take together. Mr. Speaker, we live in an era where we are being told every single day that in fact, if you did not vote for this government, you have no shares in this government and that you should expect nothing at all. What I expected the head of state to do is to tell us that ever since those pronouncements have been made, I have taken certain steps to rein in members of my administration who might not understand what Article 10 speaks about when it speaks of inclusivity and national unity, and that we give an undertaking, or he gives an undertaking, that we will not hear about that issue of shareholding anymore. Mr. Speaker, the first untruth that I want to invite this House to agree with me that I encountered is in paragraph 9 of the President's speech, where he acknowledges that it is the duty of all of us as leaders to listen keenly and comply with the people's wishes. Now, that is where I took my first shot, Mr. Speaker, because I know for a fact that Kenyans have spoken over many, many policies that this administration has put in place, including the taxation measures that have been imposed through the Finance Bill of 2023, but this government has chosen to ignore the people's pleas and in fact to do the exact opposite of what the people have been asking it to do. Mr. Speaker, the other value that I wanted him to speak to is the question of the steps taken by his government and the progress that has been achieved in strengthening democracy. Now, here I went for a double shot, Mr. Speaker, and I will explain why. The first reason, Mr. Speaker, and Honorable Khalwale has spoken very eloquently about what their generation did in order for them to achieve the freedoms that we enjoy during this time, Mr. Speaker, including the freedom of speech, and I suspect, Khalwale, even the freedom of demonstration and the right to picket. I saw myself, leaders of the church, being bludgeoned here. As a child, I saw those pictures of Reverend Joya in the streets here being bludgeoned by police officers just because he was exercising his right to protest. This same regime, this same government, Mr. Speaker, is doing the very same things. In fact, this year alone, it has bludgeoned more people than Moi bludgeoned during the time for multi-party democracy. As a leader of the opposition, I know that I have a right under Article 35, a right that Boni and his generation fought very strongly for me to be able to express my disaffection with the policy of government by protesting, by picketing. Now, I don't know how I can define picketing for my brother, Honorable Khalwale, but picketing includes putting a sufuria on your head. That sufuria on my head is not the solution I'm proffering, because I had proffered a solution that at the moment, because Kenyans are going through a difficult time, Mr. Speaker, please retain the subsidies. Please do not increase the taxation on fuel. Those are the proposals that came from my mouth, Mr. Speaker. So that when you see me putting a sufuria on my head, that is not the solution. That is me picketing and drawing your attention to the solutions I'm proffering. But you have refused to listen to the people of Kenya. And yet the president would come and stand before the hallowed House of Parliament and say that he acknowledges that as a leader, he has a responsibility to listen to the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, contrary to what many people believe, I actually admire Senator Khalwale, because I have studied his history You are some of the people who have inspired some of us to come to this house. We know your skills as a debater. But Mr. Khalwale